Yo, Wagwan, hope you're having a great day. Now in this video I'm going to be sharing the best Omnisphere instruments for making trap beats. This is going to work for R&B trap beats, R&B beats as well as melodic trap beats and all sorts of trap and hip hop and that sort of stuff. Mainly I make R&B slash trap, R&B trap type beats, so that's what I use these instruments for. But I'm going to be going through my personal favorites, the ones that I use for pretty much every beat, my list of instruments, and you can basically copy these down, check out the ones that you want, add them to your list, and get rid of the ones that you don't like and keep it moving basically, and build up your own little catalog of the best instruments for you to use in your beats. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Jay Carter from jcarterray.com, teaching you how to be better at music, online business, and online marketing. This is the #1 spot for musicians and creatives that don't want to be starving artists. So if that sounds like you, click on that subscribe button, check out the rest of the content on the channel because you will love it here. Now let's get straight into this, shall we? Now I have loaded up Omnisphere in the background, and I've also just quickly created a simple melody. Now this is the melody that I've got, and the reason why I've created this melody is because it's just easier if I create it's a chord progression slash melody. If I create some musical, chord progression slash melody, and then I play through a bunch of different presets so you can hear how that sounds. So let me see if I've got this in the right octave. Yeah, I do. So let's play this real quick and then we'll start going through the different instruments, okay? So this is what this melody sounds like in just FL keys. And of course, I could randomize the velocities to make it sound a little bit more human. I could also add a strum to it, but I don't think that's necessary because we will be looking at a variety of different instruments. Some of them will do well with strum and some of them won't, so I'm not going to mess that up. So let's listen back to this with the velocities changed so you can kind of hear what the original bass melody is sounding like. And this is a 6-4-5-1 chord progression. If you want to learn more about chord progressions and that sort of stuff, you can check out my free video on the channel on chord progressions, or if you want to get super deep into this stuff, you can check out my course on my foolproof formula for R&B trap production in FL Studio. I'll link that down below. So let's get into this. Now first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste that in our Omnisphere patch. And then we are just going to jump into Omnisphere and start looking at some patches. So first of all, ARP and BPM. No, we're going to start with bells and vibes. Okay, so I'm going to just go to my favorite bells and vibes, and we're just going to walk through a couple of those. I advise you to just write down everything you see over here. Just write it down, take a screenshot, get it on your system so that you can get these specific different instruments up and running, because I'm not going to go through all of them, every single one of them, because if I did that, this video would take forever and I'd rather not do that. So let's just pick something like Annabelle Pluck Bells and let's play this and hear what it sounds like. Is that Annabelle Pluck Bells? That doesn't sound like Annabelle Pluck Bells. It's just playing the original patch. All right, let me just add another Omnisphere. That's really weird. I was like, what's going on here? So let's add another Omnisphere and hopefully this Omnisphere actually works. Let's go to bells and vibes. Let's hear what Annabelle Pluck Bells is actually supposed to sound like. Let's get rid of this. There we go. Oh my god, I was like, what is that? What's that, a fuzziness, bruv? I don't remember hearing that. I don't remember adding that to my favorite list. So this is Annabelle Pluck Bells and let's hear it in action. Now I do need to give you a disclaimer. All these instruments sound great when they are linked to my R&B trap beat mixing template. So I've linked all of these to number one in my R&B trap beat mixing template, which is for my main melody or pads or, you know, bells and what have you. Without linking it to my R&B trap beat mixing template, these sound decidedly different, okay? So get my R&B trap mixing template, link is in the description, or go to jcarterray.com/R&B trap FL. It is worth it. It's basically, in this particular channel, we've got a band pass of EQ cutting off the low end and cutting off the high end, so everything is pushed in the mids, okay? And then I'd usually add some RC20 and maybe some halftime, but that's information for another time, and that's information for going deep into actually creating a beat. But let me show you what it sounds like without linking it to this channel. It's gonna sound way more high end and way more just too much, basically. Too much for me personally. Let's listen, man. So it still sounds cool, but a bit too much for me. I like my stuff to be a little bit more laid back, a little bit more in the background, okay? I like my melodies to sound a little bit more ambient. Now we could get rid of this because we won't need to look at that ever again, or the mixer, because you already know what's going on there. And now we can go through a few of these. Let's try Aluminium Utopia. And this is generally what I'll do when I'm creating a new beat. I'll create the melody in FL keys, then I'll change my instrument, I'll replace it with Omnisphere, and then I'll just go through my favorited or saved instruments over here. And if you don't know how to save or favorite your instruments, go and check out my video on how to favorite and save different instruments in Omnisphere. I'll link it down below as well, because I think that's very important to understand in order to easily access the instruments that you like. So let's hear Aluminium Utopia. To some music box. Ooh, that sounds beautiful. Astral Vision's Game the Phone has some more stuff in the background. Spaceland Octoblippy. I use this sparingly. Winter Memories, pretty nice. Perfect Q Bell Sparkle. In Memoriam is pretty cool. But this would, I'd turn this down because this is way too high. Let me actually turn down Omnisphere over here. There we go, that's a bit better. And let's try Chell's Bells. Chell's Bells is a classic. So that's the main instruments for Bells and Vibes. Let me quickly scroll up so you can see everything. Take your screenshots, write stuff down. Let me scroll down a little bit. There we go. Scroll down a little bit more. There we go. It's pretty much everything, okay? Now, let's get into... Do I use bold colors? No. ARP and BPM. ARP and BPM, very, very important. I like to use arpeggiators in my songs. Pretty much every single beat I've got an arpeggiator in there because it's just an easy way to make new and interesting melodies. And if you flip it and reverse it and get your thing down, flip it and reverse it, you can make very, very interesting patterns over here. So first things first, let's try Astral Visions. Generally I'll create an arpeggiator and then maybe I'll add some halftime as well, but let's listen to Astral Visions on normal without any halftime. And usually when I'm doing ARPs, I'll also change this from my main pad, like main melody pad, I always put bells and vibes and that sort of stuff in my main melody pad, channel 1 of my template. With the ARP, I've got my chord ARP channel, so we'll move this to channel number 2, and that just lets I think it lets a bit more of the high end through. So let's listen back to this. Let's also get rid of this other Omnisphere in the background. I should really delete that, but I don't want to have that potentially crash everything, so I'm not going to do that. Let's listen to Astral Visions though. Now, that sounds okay. Like when you half time it and whatnot, it will sound much better. But let's try something else. Let's try Ballerina. I think this needs to be really up an octave, so we'll leave this out for about now. Cat on the Piano is something that I like to use when I'm half timing as well, because it's got a lot of hits. So when you half time it, it basically tames this arpeggiator, but it also has a very interesting sound. And Decimated Memories ARP is pretty good. Dynamic Crystal Gamelan. Sounds trash, but if I half time it, it's gonna sound much better. Like Spirit of the 70s. Yeah, we'd have to turn this up a little bit. Spacey Synapse. Can't really hear much, but it's like really subtle, really ambient stuff going on. Purdy Chaos is something that I use a lot. And Moonbase ARP is pretty cool. So let me quickly scroll through the selection again so that you can screenshot, you can write all this stuff down, and you can see exactly the instruments, because again, can't go through all of them. So that's the first half, got all of that. Let's scroll down. Oh, that's a bit too much. Second half, scroll down. Third half, well, it's not half now, it's the third. And the fourth quarter. There we go. Alright, come. These are things that I've basically, I think I use these as examples to show you how to save your patches in another video, but you can't really get rid of things that you've already saved. Like you can't get rid of the rating. So these are just here, but they're not things that I actually use like this. It's not really something that I ever use. No, don't use that. So next we want Ethnic World. Generally Ethnic Colors is the place that I'd go to. I'm not seeing it in Ethnic World, so let's go to Pads and Strings. Pads and Strings is something that I definitely get into quite a bit with my pads. Generally the three main recipes of a beat from J Carteret is bells and vibes, yeah. Then we've got some arpeggiators. Then we've got pads and strings. Like that is the main element. Sometimes I'll add other stuff. Like I was trying out Ethnic Colors for a while, but I believe a lot of those are in bells and vibes as well. But right here, we've got my favorite one out of all of these that I pretty much use in every beat is Winded Flutes. So let's play this back. And let's actually boost this up to an octave up. Something like Distant Memories is pretty cool. Nice and ambient. But honestly, I don't like that attack. It's not quick enough for me. Afterthought Signs is pretty good. Airy and Wet Flutes is okay. Ah, this is the actual thing. And then we get rid of the air. So we're basically just using boy choir R's, and I get rid of the air and add RC20. I was using I think it's winded flutes instead of air and wet flutes, which is what I generally use. I generally use air and wet flutes pretty much every beat, but I was using winded flutes for another beat, and I was thinking, which one do I need to cut down? Is it A or a B? But it's airy and wet flutes that I need to cut down the B, because there's too much air. When you add RC20, which adds more noise, it just gets a bit crazy. So with air and wet flutes, if you're gonna add RC20, get rid of instrument B, because it just adds too much. If you're not using RC20, then, you know, leave the B in there, because you want some air and that sort of stuff. It makes it sound a little bit more vintage. So let's try Delectissimo, which is pretty cool, I believe. Don't actually remember the last time I used it. Yeah, it was pretty nice. And then these two are like really nice fuller pads. Luscious Airwaves Warm Pad and Warm Pad Ice. I guess Warm Pad Ice isn't as full as I remember it. Sounds a bit thin over here, but it's a nice thing to just add a bit of ambiance. And you're always looking for opportunities to add ambiance, especially when you're adding multiple layers. You don't really need every layer to hit you over the head. So let's quickly scroll through this so you can screenshot and get all these down. So starting with Afterthought Signs, let's go to the next part. And that's pretty much all the instruments in the pads. Now, generally, that's all I use, but sometimes I'll use synth bases. Now, I do have a few playable textures that I like to mess around with, and these are those. Let's quickly play those. Liquilimba is quite beautiful, but I haven't used this in a while. Let's quickly hear what that sounds like. Lingering Memories. These are like just great for adding ambience and adding those extra layers and basically adding a bit more character to your beats. So let's try out Grains of Sorrow, which I generally don't use to play chords. I generally just play one note if I'm using like Grains of Sorrow, as far as I remember, but I haven't used it in ages, let's be real. It sounds pretty good. You can kind of be used the same way you'd use pads, but I generally use my pads in my choruses. With something like this, I just use this as a nice background instrument. So let's quickly go to synth bass so you can see the synth basses that I use. I don't really mess around too much with a bunch of synth basses. I just use Moogs. So we've got Growler. I can't really play this melody for the Growler Moog bass though, so let's actually copy. Well, we don't need to copy it. Let's go into the piano roll and let's get rid of all the notes that are not bass notes, otherwise this is going to sound really bad. So let's bring this down and we'll move this to G. And this is the Growler bass, which I believe is the same bass from the Don't Bryson Tiller song. Might be another Bryson Tiller song, but definitely some Bryson Tiller songs on Trap Soul had this bass in it. But let's listen to that. This is also linked to the wrong channel, so now I need to link this to my synth based channel, which is channel 14. So let's listen to that now. Pretty nice synth bass, and I've got sine moog bass that I use now and again. And super moog bass. That one hits a bit harder still. So I would have thought I'd had something in retro land, but alas, I do not. Those are the best instruments to use in Omnisphere for your trap beats. Use them, have fun with them. Let me know which instrument is your favorite down below. If you've got instruments that you recommend for your trap beats, let me know in the comment section down below. Let the rest of the community know as well, because that's really going to help a lot of people out, and I'm very interested in hearing the instruments that you're using to make your beats and what instruments are sounding good. I might add them to my list, so definitely leave those comments. And remember, if you want to have your beat half mixed before you even get to the mixing stage, you want to spend less time mixing, more time creating, go and grab my R&B trap beat mixing template for FL Studio. Link is in the description, or go to jcarterray.com/R&B trap FL. Grab that ASAP. It's going to help you out a lot and save you a bunch of time. This is what I use every time I'm creating a beat, and it saves me a lot of time. It takes me minutes to mix a beat instead of hours that it used to. So if you've got any questions or any other tutorials you want me to make, please let me know in the comment section down below. I'll see you in the next video, where you'll learn more about music, online business, and online marketing. Peace out. I'll see you next time.